protocols just hours before the game. Frank, what were your primary takeaways?
Well, you know, Mike, it's funny. We talk so much these playoffs about Luka, Jason Tatum, even Steph Curry. It's almost as if Jimmy Butler said, don't forget about me. He was outstanding. 17 points in that third quarter, and I know that's your guy. I'm going to let you focus on him a little bit. But I'll tell you what, you watch the way that game was played, and I give Miami a lot of credit. They had nothing going on in the first half. How quickly did they turn things in the third quarter? Because they're a terrific defensive team. And I was stunned by how poorly Boston played. You know, Jason Tatum had 6 turnovers in the third quarter. They were outscored by 25. Mike, as bad as the Suns played on Sunday, they didn't get outscored by 25 in any of those quarters. The most they got outscored was by 20. So I think the loss of Marcus Smart and Al Horford, I don't think it impacted Boston in that first half. I think in the second half, when things were falling apart, I think a lot of guys that you weren't expecting to do anything suddenly realized, I'm in the Eastern Conference Finals. I really don't want the ball. Here, Jason Tatum, you take it. You do something.
Well, you know what, Frank? I'm going to give a little more weight to Miami probably being rusty. They didn't have a week off or anything crazy like we've seen teams after a sweep. They didn't have that. But they were rusty early, and they got themselves together pretty quickly. And you talk about takeaways. My primary takeaway is involving, thank you for leaving me some Jimmy Butler time. Jimmy Butler, okay, look, we're used to him scoring big in the playoffs when he needs to. And he needed to last night to get them going. He did not need to just be the facilitator, which he can be also. But how about defensively? How about him challenging and blocking shots and leading the way to Miami blocking 11 shots in that game? So Miami did what Miami does. I mean, defensively, they locked in. And we've been talking about Boston and their defense all spring, which is justifiable. But Miami's defense may be in the clutch just as good. But Jimmy Butler, Frank, I don't know if you voted for him on one of your first 3 teams. You know, Jimmy Butler has long been, if not my single favorite player in the league, one of my top 3, and he still is. I don't have him on one of my top 3 teams this year. It doesn't matter. He doesn't care about that. When time comes to play in the playoffs, Jimmy Butler understands what is called upon and what is necessary in the postseason, which some other people tend not to understand. He is my primary takeaway in that game.
And when the game changed in that third quarter, he had 17 points. Boston had 14. And it was interesting as well, and he talked about P.J. Tucker after the game, how I can't believe I've fallen in love with a basketball player. And they talked about on the telecast, P.J. Tucker went out in the first half, and you were thinking to yourself it was a non-contact injury. You're thinking, did he get seriously hurt? Him coming back, that changes the defensive attitude. I wonder if Giannis Antetokounmpo was sitting home thinking, you know what, we really could have used this guy as well. That brings a certain level of toughness, and that's the one thing about this Miami team, and it starts at the top with Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra. They've always been this way for 3 decades now. They're a tough, physical team, and when they got down in the first half, it didn't matter. They came out fighting in the third quarter.
Frank, you know what, when they had to have those shots of Pat Riley and Alonzo Mourning sitting together, it just really sums up.
The Godfather.
That's the face.
That's right.
It doesn't mean the current player. Who's tougher than Pat Riley and Alonzo Mourning as a tag team? You wouldn't want to face them now at whatever they are, near 50 and 75. You wouldn't want to deal with them. So, yes, you're right about that legendary toughness.
And, I mean, they're starting an Eastern Conference Finals game with a backcourt of Gabe Vincent and Max Strus. That's the Miami Heat. They find players, they develop them, and they help them. All right, let's move to the West now. We've got a sexy series tipping off in San Francisco tonight as the Mavs and the Warriors take the court. Game 1 of the Western.
Dared to compare Luka Doncic to, brace yourself, Larry Joe Bird.
I get it.
I did. Because when it comes to shot making and passing, I think Doncic either is or can be Bird's equal. I mean, he's not the rebounder. Bird averaged 10 rebounds a game.
He thinks he's the best guy out there, which goes a long way.
He does. I mean, he matches him there, too. Great pickup there, Frank. And so I did. You could have an ensemble, but usually those players have to grow older. The Cubs don't have a guy just come up and bomb one out in his. That's the final word. Let's take one last break, but still to come, a big agreement for the U.S. 15 years ago. The truth, and the Celtics beat LeBron and the Cavs in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semis. Pierce had 41. In the late game, it took overtime for the Avalanche to top the